Breaking news! Something big is happening in Miami. And no, it's not just another day of training. Behind closed doors, things are getting intense. There's chatter, there's noise, and there's a growing sense that something different is happening within the Dolphins' defense. You can feel it. This isn't typical preseason chatter or empty hype. It's something deeper. It's strategic. And the more you hear from assistant coaches, the clearer it becomes. Miami could be on the verge of a complete defensive transformation that could turn the entire AFC upside down. But here's the kicker. It's happening without a single splashy headline. No blockbuster trades. No drastic roster changes. Just subtle moves, smart adjustments, and a new philosophy being quietly installed under our noses. While the national media continues to talk about Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, or the Cowboys drama, the Dolphins are quietly assembling one of the most versatile and confusing defensive schemes in the league. And here's what really makes me nervous. Chris Greer, the man who should have been fired years ago, is still in charge. Somehow, he escaped responsibility again, but the coaching staff may be crafting a plan so precise it works despite him. The Dolphins aren't waiting for another miracle from the front office. They're building a defense that wins games on its own. I'm about to explain everything I'm hearing. But first, if you've been with this team through the disappointments, rebuilds, and false promises, hit the like button right now. Only if you're a true fan. And if you've been a fan since the Marino days, I want to see you in the comments saying, "Go, Dolphins!" My heart bleeds teal and orange. Now let's talk about what's really going on with this defense. The Dolphins have wrapped up another practice, and while it was closed to the public, the word coming out is very reassuring. No reported injuries, which in itself is a win, especially considering how physical this training camp has been. Austin Jackson, who recently got stepped on, appears to be locked and loaded, ready to go per Mike McDaniel. That's a sigh of relief, because losing key linemen this early would be disastrous. Same goes for Alec Ingold, who had a scare but is reportedly okay. And here's where things get fascinating. Defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver dropped a nugget that should get every diehard fan fired up. He's teasing a potential shift to big nickel packages, running 3 safeties on the field simultaneously. If you've been begging for a more diverse and unpredictable defensive look, this is exactly what you wanted to hear. Weaver specifically shouted out Minkah Fitzpatrick, Ashton Davis, Elijah Campbell, and the intriguing Dante Trader, who's drawing more and more internal praise. The idea here is about confusion, confusing the offense with unpredictable safety looks. Imagine not knowing who's going to drop back, who's coming downhill, and who's covering the slot. That's chaos for opposing quarterbacks. And you can tell this isn't just theory, this is a vision. Weaver's brain is already spinning with possibilities. Picture this, 3 safeties on the field at once, capable of playing nickel, deep zone, or rolling into blitz packages. That creates a coverage shell that could completely disrupt timing routes and mess with quarterbacks' reads. It's not just about talent. It's about versatility, deception, and pre-snap disguise. Big nickel isn't just a gimmick. With the right personnel, it's a weapon. And it looks like the Dolphins are fully invested in building a defense that can not only survive injuries and matchups but dictate them. When you hear Weaver talk about strength up the middle, he's referring to a spine made of dominant tackles, aggressive linebackers, and versatile safeties. It's not a coincidence that the team has loaded up on all 3. Austin Clark, the defensive line coach and arguably the most underrated position coach on this staff, echoed this mindset. He said, "This is the deepest unit we've had since I got here," referring to the defensive line. That's a bold statement. You've got Kenneth Grant, Benito Jones, Zach Sealer, Jordan Phillips, Matt Dickerson, Matthew Butler, Zeke Biggers, Ben Still, and Alex Huntley all fighting for spots. That's depth, and more importantly, that's real competition. You might remember how last year, the Dolphins simply didn't have the bodies to rotate like they wanted. Now, they're talking about 3 waves of linemen, first wave, second wave, and third wave. That's tsunami-level depth. And when you have that kind of rotation, you stay fresh late in games, you stay effective deep into the season, and you break offensive lines by the 4th quarter. Joe Barry, handling the linebacker unit, is also swimming in talent and what he calls champagne problems. Imagine that, a Dolphins coach actually struggling to find playing time for guys like Willie Gay, Tyrell Dodson, Jordan Brooks, and others who are all starting caliber players. That's not a problem, that's a luxury. Barry made it clear, rotating inside linebackers might not be traditional, but he's not afraid to break the mold. And he's already done it before. Let's talk about scheme for a second because this is where it all ties together. Everything the Dolphins are doing, big nickel, linebacker depth, D-line rotation, is about creating post-snap confusion while staying physically dominant at the point of attack. You're going to see disguises. You're going to see safeties rotating in and out. You're going to see linebackers mugging the gaps and dropping into zones. Think pressure, deception, and total versatility. It even goes down to how the corners are expected to play. Storm Duck, for instance, is being hyped relentlessly in camp. Toughness, technique, physicality, he's checking all the boxes. And that's important because it reinforces the belief that Miami isn't planning to rely on traditional man-to-man matchups on the outside. They're building a scheme around aggressive press zone coverage, forcing QBs to make throws into high-traffic areas. When you zoom out and look at this defense holistically, it's clear the Dolphins are not building a defense to survive. They're building one to dominate, up the middle, through the safety looks, with linebacker depth and defensive line rotation. The blueprint is there. Whether or not it all comes together in time is the big question. But one thing is certain, this is going to be a very different Miami Dolphins defense in 2025. Because here's the thing, no matter how much depth we talk about, no matter how versatile these packages appear on paper, it all hinges on execution. And execution starts up front. Austin Clark's defensive line group isn't just deep, they're hungry. The way he described it, every one of these guys has something to prove. You've got rookies trying to earn their spot, like Zeke Biggers. You've got veterans who never got a fair shake in their previous situations, like Matthew Butler and Jordan Phillips. These aren't just players, they're guys with a chip on their shoulder. That's the kind of attitude that can change the tone of a defense. Now, let's connect the dots with what Joe Barry is trying to do. You heard him. He's not afraid to rotate inside linebackers. He's got Tyrell Dodson, who he clearly trusts, Jordan Brooks, who can mug the A-gap or set the edge, and Willie Gay, who's been lighting it up in camp. This isn't a guessing game anymore. They're going to use all of them, in different looks, different scenarios. And here's where it gets wild. Barry hinted at packages with 3 linebackers and 3 safeties on the field at the same time. That's 6 second and third level defenders flying around, reading plays, confusing quarterbacks, and closing gaps. Let that sink in. Big nickel plus linebacker rotation equals a defense that doesn't give away anything pre-snap. Quarterbacks won't know who's blitzing, who's dropping, or who's crashing the run lanes. And that's the beauty of what Anthony Weaver and Joe Barry are cooking up together. Even quarterback play is being redefined. We're not just talking about Kader Kohou or Mike Hilton. We're talking about Storm Duck possibly locking down a starting role, not because he's the most athletic corner, but because his technique and physicality fit exactly what Miami is trying to do. And here's the twist. They don't need corners who can run step for step with Jamar Chase downfield. They need corners who can press hard at the line, throw off timing, and let the safeties clean up over the top. It's a zone-heavy, disguise-based approach. That's what Mike McDaniel and Anthony Weaver are betting on. Think cloud coverage, rotating safeties, and edge players dropping into throwing lanes. It's creative, it's modern, and it could be devastating if it works. But we need to be real here. This whole system requires that the front 4 win early, that the linebackers plug and chase, that the safeties communicate perfectly. If there's even a small breakdown in that communication, or if the pressure doesn't get home, you're hanging your DBs out to dry. And that's why this depth matters so much. It's not just about having 11 starters. It's about having 16, 17 guys you trust to rotate and keep the intensity high for 4 full quarters. Now, let's not ignore the elephant in the room. For all this defensive genius, we're still left with one huge concern: Chris Grier. The guy responsible for this roster construction should have been gone already. His missteps in previous seasons, questionable picks, bad contracts, inconsistent roster building, should have cost him his job. But somehow, he's still in the building. And while we're hoping these brilliant defensive minds can make this thing work, we can't forget that the reason we're sweating over whether guys like Storm Duck can start is because Grier failed to bring in more proven talent at the position. Still, with all that said, this defense might just have the potential to overcome the front office's flaws. The safety group is deep and multidimensional. The linebacker unit is rich with versatility. The D-line is stacked like we haven't seen in years.